You're watching The Tom Renz Show with your host, Tom Renz.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the show. Happy Tuesday to you guys. I'm glad to be here. I'm excited tonight. Because my brother Joey Gilbert is coming on. Not blood brother, but brother by another mother, that sort of thing. Joey and I became great friends during COVID, and he did a great job out fighting in Nevada, and he's still doing it, still raising hell. A full-time lawyer, but still has to do what he does, because once you start fighting this corruption that we see everywhere, you just can't walk away from it, because once you see it, you can't unsee it, and it's everywhere. Joey's got a daughter, and he's just, it's hard when you're watching what's happening in this world to not fight, especially some of us guys who are kind of built to fight. And so Joey's doing that. One of the areas that he's fighting right now is the transgender nonsense, right? And you all know how I feel about this, right? Just to be real blunt, I can sew a dinosaur tail on my ass, a prosthetic dinosaur tail. I can get tattoos of scales all over my body. It doesn't make me a dinosaur. It makes me a dumbass with a tail on my ass. You can't be what you aren't. If you're born a man, you're a man. If you're born a woman, you're a woman. You can pretend, you can get gender treatment surgeries, you can get gender affirming care, you can take hormones, but at the end of the day, you are what you are. And, it's sick, because now we're out here and we're trying to get kids and to convince kids that this is okay. Thankfully, Donald Trump has done a lot to turn this around. Of the things that Trump has done right, eliminating the gender nonsense for kids has got to be one of the best, because this was one of the sickest and most perverse things I've ever heard. So we're going to talk to Joey about that. He's actually got a book coming out on this, and it's going to be the new Bible for just kind of undercutting the BS that is the trans movement in kids. And so I'm looking forward to that. Now, Joey's got a fairly short window because he's got to get out of here tonight. So we're going to kind of move right into things. And I'm going to gripe a little bit less about other things than I normally do right now. But we have a lot more coming also. We're going to get into this. Did you guys hear about this reported terror attack? I've got a different take on this terror attack. I've heard a lot of people talking about how we foiled this terror attack. But let me ask you something. Y'all remember that they're trying to push FISA through? Y'all remember that? Isn't it interesting that just when they're trying to push FISA through, they find a terror attack that they're going to stop? I don't know. Maybe it's real, maybe it's not. But whatever it is, we don't need this FISA crap. Get a warrant. You want to spy on Americans, get a warrant. That's what the Constitution says. If you don't like the Constitution, well, you really don't have a business being in our government. And, well, I guess that covers most of Congress right now. There's a lot of sellouts pushing this crap. Thankfully, we've got enough people that support the Constitution that it's not passing right now. But, man, they're trying hard. We'll get into that and a whole bunch more. Before we do, Grifters Got to Grift, and we need your support. GiveSendGo.com/RenzLaw. GiveSendGo.com/RenzLaw. Your donations keep us going. We're grateful for all you do. After all these years, you guys are still supporting, and I can't tell you how great of an honor that is to me. I'm really thankful. The fight is getting ready to ramp back up, guys. We're not going in the right direction on a lot of different fronts. The AI, the mRNA, all this stuff is still happening. CBDCs are coming. They're not going to be central bank, but they're going to be something else. We're going to have to fight all of this. Digital track and trace is here. Try and walk down the street and not see a flock camera. They're everywhere. The system is not, it's just not going the right way. And that's because the globalists and the elitists are still doing what they do. We're making progress in some areas, but they are still moving. We need your support, because we're gonna be fighting hard coming up. I can see it coming. Trust me, I'm not wrong on this. I wasn't wrong 4 years ago when I said, 5 years ago when I said, hey, Ukraine's got biolabs. We're now just catching up with what we knew 5-6 years ago. We're not wrong about this either. Trust me, folks. So GiveSendGo.com/RenzLaw. And of course, go to TomRenz.com, www.TomRenz.com. Check out our shop, click partners and affiliates. You can get anything you want to get there. And you can get it at a discount because we've got partnerships with everybody now. Don't forget Global Healing. I love Global Healing, men's hormone support, all natural testosterone support, help you not be a Lindsey Graham limp dick. We don't want to be a Lindsey Graham limp dick. That is no good at all. In fact, we need to, I personally want to see people start sending crates of men's hormone support to Lindsey Graham because it's a good message for him. He needs a lot of hormone support. He clearly doesn't have any. But check out Global Healing. And tonight we want to highlight, scroll down a little bit. Here it is, Paleo Valley. If you use our link, you get 15% off the entire store. I love Paleo Valley. They're not what I thought, guys. I thought they were just selling like beef sticks or something when I first met these guys. But they got a whole line of supplements. I've got it right here, the Neuro Effect. Great supplement. Really kind of keeps you sharp, keeps your mind working. I love their apple cider vinegar. I got that too. I keep all this stuff here. I actually take this stuff every day. That's why I'm as youthful and vibrant as I still am. Okay, something like that, right? Anyways, make sure you're checking out our link to Paleo Valley. Get your supplements, get your bone broth protein, get everything there. Wonderful, wonderful store. Okay. I want to get into the tranny stuff, right? This is one of my favorite topics to kind of riff on because, well, I mean, listen, this I'm going to dedicate this whole show to the tranny in chief, Michelle Obama, who we now know because Hokett told us she's a man. She's got a penis. Now, I can't prove that, and I'm going to assure you all I'm not going to be the one to check it out. But, we're going to dedicate the show to the first lady, Michelle Obama, anyways, because, reports are that she has a penis. And with that, let's bring my brother Joey on air right now. Ben, can you put Joey on the picture here? Joey, how you doing, man?
I'm doing great. How are you?
You got some new puppies there, don't you?
I do. I have one of them barking at me because I'm not paying attention to him. He's only 5 months old, and at this time of night, Dad's usually throwing the ball for him and running around loving on him. So he is not happy that I'm sitting downstairs ignoring him.
I love dogs so much more than people. That like it's all good. If he wants to come on camera, if he wants to give you kisses, it's all good. I won't judge you because I prefer your dog. I might prefer your dog over you, man. No offense.
He is a pretty cool little dude.
That's awesome. So, Joey, you've been working. You got a book now, brother. What's going on? Tell me about this.
I do. I got it. I know you guys will be able to put it up, but this right here, and you said it right, Tom. You called it a Bible. It really is going to be the definitive work that I think that anyone that wants to, cares to reference this information to give themselves the knowledge. And again, it's not political. The beauty of this book, there's no politics in it. It's just the facts. It's a lawyer, a father, and athlete's review of the available information and what comes from this. It's actually, again, for me, it was every day that I go further down the road, I was, blown away by what I was finding because it was like, well, that makes sense. I can't believe this isn't out there for people to see, for everyone to read. And it really, what it does is it simplifies the whole question of do these things, these gender transitions, these puberty blockers, these cross-sex hormones, do they help the kids or not? And the answer, irrefutably, is no, they do not. And actually, they make it far, far worse. And we could talk about it for days and days, but I'll just simplify it by saying, look, that dog don't hunt. You cannot, with a straight face, after reading this book, I don't care if you started out pro, in the beginning, you read this book, you read the studies, it's it's over. It's that clear. And so I'm really proud of it.
Well, that's pretty cool. Brother, I want to show you this. I want to show you this clip because I just feel like we ought to play it. It makes good sense to me. Ben, can we bring this up on the screen here? This is a really important and I think a relevant, deep and moving clip here. This is kind of, speaking of your dog, this is the dog reaction to well, there seems to be something bouncing around in there. Now I know that you're what? Well, there seems to be something in there. That was a microphone, by the way, Joey. In case you didn't know, she's adjusting the microphone there. There's a number. She's got to adjust the microphone. I thought this was I thought this was relevant and important because if we're going to talk about, boys trying to pretend they're girls or girls trying to pretend they're boys, I mean, there's allegations. Of course, we can't say definitively that Michelle Obama has a penis, but, she was adjusting the microphone that fell in her pants.
Allegedly.
Allegedly. we're both lawyers here. We're allegedly.
Well, I mean, look, it's very simple, though. I mean, at the end of the day, Tom, I don't care what adults do or what they decide to do to themselves. That you know what, you want to do that, have at it, Hoss. But until you're, clear through, I think it should be 25, and we can get into the whole front cortex, frontal cortex and development and all this and that. But I know that my daughter is 16 and can drive, but she can't go down the street and use the tanning booth, all right, because she's not 18, right? She can't go get a tattoo. She can't check herself out of school. She can't vote. She can't buy liquor. She can't go to one of the dispensaries. But you're now telling me that she can't get a gun, buy a gun, use a gun, buy ammunition. But you're telling me that she can make a decision and she has the ability to understand consent, and implied consent, and just, it's scary. It's really scary. So again, I don't really care what the adults are doing. I don't think anybody should do it. Every study out there on the planet says that it's the absolute, proven worst thing you can do. It's the lifetime of pain. You're going to be in and out of the doctor, infections. You'll never pee right again. You'll never have a sexual experience the same way. You're not fertile, and it goes on and on and on. Bone density, I could name it, but that's adults. We're worried about the kids. This book was written 100% for the children and for the confused moms out there with the mental health issues going on. All right, the devouring mothers, as they say, that they want something special. They want a little trick. They want to be talked about. They want to be relevant. So then they start transing their kid, and then they try and go find a bunch of nonsense to back it up. And what we've done here is be able to say, you know what? As long as one of these copies are around somewhere, anybody in your family reads it, the jig is up. They're going to look at you like the sociopath you are for doing that to your kid.
Well, they should be. And you know what? That's actually a super important point, man. That's something that nobody talks about is, we talk about the horrors of this, but at the end of the day, you see some of these parents who got, 3-4-year-old kids, little boys that they're putting dresses on, or little girls that they're, dressing like boys, and they're doing it intentionally. And they're telling them that at 3 or 4 years old, you're still figuring out where to go to the bathroom. And they're trying to tell you can choose whether you're a boy or a girl. It's insane.
That's like mom or dad, deciding that, all of a sudden they have a vegan cat or a vegan dog because they just knew it. They knew the dog was vegan. They knew the cat was vegan.
Yeah, because there's a lot of those out there, right? Just like there's a lot of kids that are trans. I mean, the whole thing is at the end of the day, trans is inherently, it's a mental illness. It's gender dysphoria disorder.
100%.
Why in the world would anybody think it's a good idea to not only feed these delusions, but to actively support it and to make decisions that are going to permanently ruin a child's life and health?
And Tom, what you just hit on, that's what makes this so important. Here's the sickest part. And the Biden administration knew this and sat on it. It's one of the first things Amanda had highlighted. They knew, historically, nearly 90% resolve naturally. It's called puberty, right? Yeah. So they knew it. They changed the protocol anyway. That's the craziest thing about it, is that then they try to go on there, and this is another one. If 90% naturally desist from it, but 95% continue after blockers are not neutral. So what they did was they knew that these kids would just go through normally, pass through puberty and be fine, unless they got them on this stuff earlier. Now they've created a lifetime patient. All right. It's sickening. It's absolutely sickening.
You know what? I've never heard anyone bring that up. And that's actually a super good point. And one of the things, just to clarify, so, part of what makes you feel like a man as a man is your testosterone.
Sure.
And you're the hormones that make you a man or the hormones that make you a woman. I mean, they aren't the only thing. Your DNA is what it is, and you can't change those. But if you eliminate testosterone in a man, boost their estrogen, or vice versa in a woman, they're not going to feel like it's going to mess with their head, but it's not natural. It's kind of like if you get drunk or high, you're going to be messed up. You're not going to be thinking right, and you're not going to be yourself, and you may do stupid crap for a while. This is no different, except for we're doing it for a long time, and with kids who don't have the developmental awareness to actually realize that, hey, someone's messing with my head. This isn't who I am.
Oh, and Tom, the thing that's so terrible about it is all the developmental things that it's doing to you. When you don't have what you're naturally, supposed to have, when that's stalled and kept from you, the list of things, from less mature brain, I could go down weaker, longer drug exposure, greater fertility risk, greater sexual function risk, down to infertility, sexual dysfunction, lifelong hormones, surgical complications, and the regret is never ending. And that's the thing that we're really seeing right now from the detransitioners. And many of them that we're speaking with, that have worked with us, have all said the same thing. The amount of pressure that was put on them at an early age to do this, and how quickly they were given the opportunity to start blockers, start the cross-sex hormones, or even we're talking a 30-minute Zoom before a double mastectomy. Yeah. Does that make any sense to anybody?
No.
It's just crazy.
Well, and here's the thing. So this is really important, and especially for you and I, because we fought so hard on the COVID stuff, and we found all the fraud in the science, right? We found that They lied. They put out fake studies, fake this, fake that. And it turns out that, and I'm sure you've got this in there, the CAS review in the UK. So this was the 2024
CAS
study.
Is all over there, yep.
Where they found that only 2% of the studies that they reviewed were even close to high quality. Almost all of the science behind this was junk science that was bought and paid for by a bunch of crooked politicians, just like they bought and paid for the mRNA bullcrap that they did with COVID. It was all a lie. It was just fraud.
Tom, not only is it fraud, get this, a 2024 national cohort analysis, this is in the book, a 12.12x higher suicide attempt risk within 5 years. Okay,
Jesus.
so it's it's worsening it. And when you actually get the data and you look at it, you're sitting there scratching your head. Then you find the internal memos from these you've got every different, the Society for Evidence-Based Gender Medicine. I forget the other one. There's Amanda would know it. What is the one that's the TPATH? Anyway, I've got. So they're God, I had this at the top of my head. I was just reading.
There's so many of them, man. Listen, there are so many of these. I've read a lot of this stuff, but unless you're doing this 24/7, it's so easy to mix them up because there are literally hundreds of studies. WPATH,
World Professional Association for Transgender Health. This one's laughable. In their own data, in their own internal memos, they're going against it. In their own internal memos, they're recognizing the problems. They're just ignoring it. Biden, for 2 years, the administration sat on horrific information because here's what they said. They weren't sure what to do with it. They didn't know, how it was going to impact things. They didn't know what to do. So they just sat on it.
Well, that's because it was an agenda. It was never based on science. It was a political agenda, and to hell with the kids. The problem is, and I got to tell you something, Joey, if I had the time to do it, these detransitioners and the people going through this hell that went through this ought to be one of the biggest class action lawsuits in history against all of these fraudulent scientists and these fraudulent doctors who are pushing this nonsense despite very, very clear evidence that it was garbage. This was malpractice, but it wasn't just malpractice. This was wide-scale malpractice. This was very much akin to what they did with COVID. It was a push on a global level to try and get these kids to believe that this was something that was working or effective, safe and effective, just like the mRNA jabs, safe and effective, right? Except for it actually made everything worse. And anyone with any common sense would have been able to say this, but they didn't care because they don't give a damn. Joe Biden and his crooks did not give a damn about kids. They whatever they had to do, as demonstrated by them pushing the mRNA jabs in children.
Well, the other thing is too, Tom, and again, this is the one thing that I always want to do with people here is because one thing about this topic, as you know, is people get super emotional. They just get supercharged, and it just becomes almost a screaming match because what we do here is we just take it simply facts and The beauty of it is from a medical consent standpoint. You could never get away with these operations.
No.
If you just follow the regular medical protocols that we have in place today, you cannot do something to someone that might have more greater harm than good. You cannot do that. And that's what we're doing to these kids. They know before going in that there's a high likelihood that this is not going to do anything. And now the data that shows it, far, far more likely that they're going to suffer more severe psychological trauma and all kinds of other problems, and they push it through anyway. That's the difference here, is that you read this and you say, oh my God, this is no longer, it's no longer like a question. It's no longer a guess. It's right there. You cannot do these operations. And so what you just said, to hammer it home, this book lays it out for any lawyer, that I can promise you that these checks were not done in place to get to where consent is actually valid. And now these kids are permanently harmed. So get out your checkbooks.
Well, they ought to be getting out their checkbooks. I mean, we need to be suing these guys. Unfortunately, we just haven't seen the lawsuits really kind of come yet, but I think they're coming.
They're coming.
I don't see how this stands up. I mean, to suggest that these doctors did even a basic level of due diligence is absurd. There was nothing about this that was even remotely close to informed consent. There was, they literally reclassified gender dysphoria disorder. They tried to move this whole thing away from being a mental illness and into the realm of an effective treatment under the guise that it was going to prevent suicide, when it actually made it worse.
Exactly. There you still see what I'm saying? Yeah. I knew you would understand this. And that's why I'm saying, like, I think that this book, Tom, if we can, my goal is to get it into the hands of every congressional member over time, to get it into the hands of every parent that in the country that's, interested in school board or shows up or have kids in school. I know not everyone's going to get it, but I think that every superintendent needs one of these. I think every school board, member, president needs one of these, because at the end of the day, it just simplifies it. And what you just said right there, there's not an ability to appreciate or give the informed consent. Stop right there. You've got women that are 30 years old now that still that were 15, 16 years old when they had their breasts removed, and then no one explained to them what that was going to be like long term, or the hormones that they've been on. It's crazy.
Oh, well, you know what, Joey? This goes to something that's foundational. And no matter how much they try and get away from this, there is still in this society a recognition that we have a duty to protect children. 100%. We have to protect our kids. And you mentioned that, people get mad and they start screaming. Well, that's because no one wants to hear, hey, you know what you're doing? You're poisoning your kid. You're putting your kid's life at risk. Nobody wants to hear that. You and I saw the same thing, but this isn't the first time. This is like a war on children that we're experiencing, right? We've seen this with the cover-up on the Epstein child rapist. We've seen this with the COVID injections on children. We're now starting to realize exactly how bad a lot of these vaccines are that provide absolutely no benefit whatsoever, but yet they continue to push these in kids. The health freedom is foundational. And it seems like the Biden administration particularly worked overtime to not only ignore the basic tenets of health freedom, but to try and force things that were unhealthy on the population across the board. All of these things, from child genital mutilation, which, I say it that way because when we talk about radical Islam, we hear about female genital mutilation, where they force women into these procedures where they essentially cut up their genitals and just destroy their ability to have sex. Well, the same sort of thing, the parallel between female genital mutilation and child genital mutilation can't be ignored. We find one appalling, but people haven't really connected the two. This is no better. In fact, I would say it's worse.
I couldn't agree more, man. I mean, everything that you see, that we're seeing now, and that's been broadcast the last 4 or 5 years, has all been agenda driven. And that's the thing that's probably been the most scary. But I do think that you've seen it. And again, I wrote this book because of my daughter as well. Just seeing her, fight through life as a woman athlete, that's, as a young, woman athlete, trying to earn her place. And then seeing what we're seeing in places like, California with that A.B. Hernandez, and there's just the poison that's been put in these kids' heads. I wanted to really, do a deep dive and I don't know what the word is, just find where they were coming from. where this, and that's what we did in this book. We actually run you through a history of how this started, a long time ago, 1800s, 1900s. And then the person, John Money, who carried it forward here, how he was, how really this man should have been, arrested and put in prison for the stuff he did. But they've glorified just the most disgusting people and pushed this thing forward. And unless some of us got in the way and derailed it, which I think we've done in this generation that's coming, like my daughter's generation, waking up and seeing the truth, that's how we fight it. That's how we win.
Joey, is he the guy, John Rail, or is he the guy who was reportedly like having sex with kids and all that sort of nonsense?
And had the two twin boys that he basically transitioned, and the horror stories, both those young men ended up killing themselves, later in life. But everything he did is horrific. And he still looked at, his works are still held. I forget which university it's at, but they're still up there. This guy should be ripped out of out completely.
Yeah, no, the guy was a pedophile. He was a sicko pervert, and somehow we're trying to act like he was a credible scientist of some sort. I got to be honest with you, Joey. I don't understand it. I know you got to get out of here pretty quick. What's the most shocking takeaway that you got from this? That you'd throw, and then tell people how they can support you on this and where they can find it when it's ready.
I think the shocking takeaway is that to the extent that they went to gaslight the public, and the thing that I think the one that's probably the one that stands out most in people's ears or minds is when someone says something like, "Would you rather have a living daughter or a dead son?" Right? That's the one they always go to, and I can show in this book that is just the most irresponsible, unethical, horrific thing you could say to a parent, and it's a lie. As a matter of fact, you have more of a chance of doing more damage to your son or daughter by affirming them and their mental illness and not treating them properly and not giving them the love that they deserve and everything else. That's the thing that really ripped my heart apart, was that you see it every day, counselors, and then the stories that poured in. One of them from our very own Michaela Cutler, Boone Cutler's daughter, wrote the foreword. You'll have to see this. I was involved in her life when she was going through stuff like this in the Washoe County School District as a young girl, just about becoming a teenager. And so I would have to say it's the gaslighting and dishonesty by those in positions of power or high regard. And some of them don't even know that they're being used, that they're the ruse. That's the most heartbreaking thing. That's the people's hands I want this book to go into. It's available on Amazon now, for Amazon, pre-selling now. Please get your book and gift this thing to people, because if you've got folks out there that are a sort of way, and you know what I'm talking about, or that think they know, get them this book, because I have been told by some pretty, impressive people out there, one of them being the chief, and we talked about this, who came on to say that with this book, and he had seen this book ahead of time, and he'd read this book, it should be required reading for anybody pursuing a degree in that area, because of how awakening it is, how much information it gives you that's missing out there in the general public. And I would just say that go on Amazon, get it, and share it to those friends and family that need it.
Gender transition in minors. Don't forget to get this book. Joey, man, thank you, brother, for putting this out there. Thanks for getting it together. I look forward to digging through the whole thing as soon as I get it, and come back and we'll talk some more about it once it's available.
Thanks so much, brother. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it so much, guys.
Thanks, Joey. I'll catch you later, brother.
Okay, take care.
All right. There we got it. My brother, Joey Gilbert. Listen, you need to understand this. And he's right. He's right. If you're a doctor, if you're going through medical school, if you're going through, this is important. You need to see this stuff, because you need to, this illustrates how fake science works. And so much of healthcare is fake science right now. I've been through this for the last 6 years. I got, guys, 2019, I would never have believed the stuff that, in fact, I did. Years ago, we were talking about autism, and I made the comment. I said, listen, autism, you're telling me the whole pharmaceutical industry's lying that vaccines aren't unsafe, they're not safe? That's nonsense. I was wrong. It is. The whole industry is based on fraud. It's pseudoscience over and over again. There's some good science out there, but you really got to dig for it. That's what guys like Peter McCullough and some of these other guys who've really kind of started digging in have started to realize how much fake science there is out there. It's unbelievable. There's some gray area on some of these things, right? You can argue that some of this stuff, maybe not, and some of these guys are just making mistakes. But at the end of the day, if there's one thing that I've learned over the last 6 years of fighting every kind of Maha issue you can fight, it's that the amount of fraud in the peer-reviewed scientific community is mind-blowing. These researchers, they get grants to achieve outcomes. The studies are paid for. So what you do, if you're a scientist, if you're a researcher, you apply for a grant, right? But the thing is that if you don't apply for the grant, you don't have money, you can't keep doing research. So if that's your career, well, that's what you got to do is apply for these grants. But what's happened is all the grant money is being used to study things with intent, right? So they'll say, hey, we want a study that's going to analyze this. And they set it up in a way where the grant criteria dictate the outcome. Right. So they'll ask a loaded question. Hey, we want to study, all the different ways that gender affirming care is good for kids. Well, it's not good for kids. But if you don't run that study, there's no money available. And unfortunately, too many scientists sell out. They just sell out. And they know that if they run that study and it doesn't come out the right way, it's not going to get published. They're going to get excoriated in front of their friends, their peers, their colleagues, and they're going to lose their university position where they work about 5 minutes a week and have a bunch of undergrads writing their books for them. So, they don't want to lose that. It's kind of like Congress. Being a professor, being a university, being a researcher, it's kind of like being in Congress. They get these jobs. They're lazy. They don't have to do anything. And they don't want to lose these jobs because they're super cushy. So they just sell out and they do whatever it is that these grants are there for. It's one of the most corrupt parts of the Maha space. It's mind blowing to me that we're still talking about this. We saw it over and over. It's like the hydroxychloroquine study. Hydroxychloroquine was never dangerous, but yet they put out a study suggesting that it can cause serious side effects and illness. What they didn't tell you is that the people involved in the study were OD'd on a profound level to the point where some of the scientists that were involved in at least one of these studies were investigated for attempted murder and murder because they OD'd people on a level that was absurd so that they could get to the outcome. The fraud in science is one of the most profound things that's occurring. And guys, it's happening on a monumental level. It's happening across the board. You know where it started, and this is one of the things a lot of people don't realize, is where this really kind of got its kickoff was in the whole green movement, right? Now, I support certain environmental things, right? Like I don't want glyphosate. I don't want people putting PFAS and forever chemicals in the water. Like, I want to have a clean environment, right? That you got to have a clean environment for Maha. But what they do is they selectively study the things that they can make money on and selectively ignore the things that would cost them money if the true science came out. This whole thing, science is a manipulated game. That's why, I don't know if you guys remember this, but going back a few years, there was a point where, who was it? Was it the WHO or one of the big globalists made an announcement and said, hey, Google and the WHO are working together and we now control the science. And it was a big deal. And the reason it was such a big deal is because when you control the science, you control the levers by which law is made. You put these fake studies in front of these elected officials, and most of our elected officials don't have a clue, right? What they do is some lobbyist comes in and says, hey, I got this study that shows that everybody's going to die if they don't get a COVID vaccine. So we need to mandate COVID vaccines. Oh, okay, let's mandate them, right? And that's how it works. You get fake studies, and you'll get some crooked lobbyist who come in and feed those fake studies to these different people, these elected officials. And these elected officials are incompetent, most of them, or at least not qualified. Some of them just aren't qualified, right? You don't have to be smart to be elected. We can elect, we've got AOC, for God's sakes, right? So you don't have to be a brain surgeon to be elected. And the problem is you get these people that they're fed lies and they don't know any better. They really don't. So our elected officials aren't capable of doing this. Now, our founding fathers had a solution, right? But no one wants to talk about that. The founding fathers said, hey, the government should say out of things, you don't make laws, you don't do these things. We had the 9th and 10th Amendment, but we ignore those largely now, right? We just ignore them. We ignore individual rights when there's science to justify it. In fact, we even in the courts have standards, even on fundamental rights that that have to meet strict scrutiny in front of the courts. When they provide enough fake science, the courts will say, well, yeah, this is the least restrictive mechanism by which we can accomplish this important government goal, right? This important goal for society. And so, we think this meets the strict scrutiny standard. Even that has happened, particularly in the vaccine space. The corruption of science is a fundamental part of the reason that we have so many problems in this country. And it's really something that until we address that, I want to say my friend Pam Popper, and Pam was one of my closest allies as we fought through this COVID stuff. She's a wonderful lady based out of Columbus. You should look her up and you should support her, by the way. But my friend Pam Popper has been talking for a long time about the need to go after the journals, the medical journals. And she's dead right about it. And I wish that I would have had a little more time and capacity back when she first brought it up, because I should have been suing them as well as everybody else. I just didn't have enough room in my world at that point. I was so busy fighting all these other things. But she has long been saying we need to go after these medical journals for publishing fake science, because they do. And they know, all the people who do the peer review know, you don't speak out on this, you do speak out on that. If you speak out on this, you'll never get another grant again. And so these garbage peer-reviewed academic journals, they publish this fake science, even though they know it's wrong and they know it's garbage. And they keep pushing it because they know that as long as they keep pushing it, people will come in and buy tens of thousands of copies of their journals, and they'll fund them, and there'll be grants, and there's all these illicit ways that they fund money to these people. But the reality is that it's all fake. It's all fraud. It's all manufactured. And this is what happens when money controls academia and controls science. And that's where we are on it. Okay, I got a lot more. I could go on for hours on this. The corruption is well documented. We've been talking about it for 6 years, and I'm going to keep talking about it. But I want to hit a couple other things tonight because there's some really important news. I mentioned at the top of the show, I mentioned this terror plot that was foiled. That was apparently, the story is that this group of clowns were going to fly drones with bombs attached to them into this White House event where they were doing the UFC fight where Hoke said that Michelle Obama's got a penis. So they were going to fly these drones and they were going to use explosives to scare people and to funnel people in a certain direction. And the story was that then they had snipers set up and they were going to shoot the people as they ran out. So it's going to be a mass casualty event. Now, here's what's happened with this. Allegedly, the people involved had bought some guns and bought some this and bought some that, and were talking online about it. And the way that this all became revealed was the mother of one of the guys from Ohio called the police and say, hey, I don't know what's going on with my kid. He's buying all these guns, all these bullets. He's doing all this crazy stuff. I'm not sure I trust him. So they take this kid to the psych ward to see what's going on with him. They pink slip him. And the kid talks about the whole thing. Now, here's the thing. This was around the June 10th through 13th that this was all getting broken up. As of the 10th through the 13th, they did not have drones. They did not have bombs. They didn't have that. They had a bunch of people who were talking about it and who had bought guns and ammunition, but they hadn't actually really gone all the way. Now, conspiracy, the charges, they have to talk about affirmative steps. Have they taken affirmative steps towards accomplishing their conspiracy for charges to be reasonable, right? And arguably, maybe, maybe not. I don't know. We'll see what happens in the courtrooms. But here's the thing that's funny to me. There's always nutbags talking about nutty stuff online, right? There's all these nut jobs all the time. Left, right, doesn't matter. There's always nut jobs talking about nutty stuff. I can attest to this because of my work, because of stuff I've done over the years. The number of times that I get people who will send me information that, I mean, to be honest, sometimes it's just kind of creepy because it's totally insane. There's no basis in reality for it. And they're talking in ways that are kind of creepy. There's a lot of nut jobs out there, right? But the question is, was this a real threat? And I got to be honest with you. I'm not 100% convinced that it is. Yes, there were charges filed. Will they stick? I don't know. But here's the thing that's interesting about it, and the thing that I really want to watch right now. The fight over the FISA nonsense is going big, right? FISA is not getting renewed, and the intel community wants to be able to spy on Americans. Now, part of the deal, by the way, part of this deal with this Israel military intel alliance would arguably make it easier for a foreign government, in this case Israel, to be able to spy on Americans, and then they can share that information back with American intel agencies, so they don't have to spy on Americans, but they still get the data, right? It's an illicit and cheap and shady workaround. We'll see what happens with that. But regardless, they would rather just get the FISA thing pushed back through, which we know was garbage. It was used to spy on Trump. It was used to do all sorts of bad things. And it's used to spy on Americans, right? All you got to do is have some contacts with some sort of a foreign anything, and it gives them a justification to say, well, we think we need to look into this guy. And the FISA court rubber stamps it. You don't know what's happening. You're getting spied on. And it's a go. There's no actual warrants. There's no real process on it. It's shady as hell. Here's my concern, folks, at the risk of being a conspiracy theorist. Would they do a false flag event to try and push the FISA thing? And I got to be honest with you. At this point, in light of the massive, massive, massive levels of corruption we're seeing everywhere, it wouldn't surprise me. It wouldn't surprise me in the least if the deep state tried to push some sort of fake false flag event to try and argue that they need FISA. So I think we need to really be aware over the next month or two, especially coming up on the 250th celebration of America. We've got to be very aware and careful, because it wouldn't surprise me in the least if they can't get FISA jammed through, if they do a false flag event to try and argue that they have to do it, which would get Congress covered. Well, we have to do this now, right? America doesn't want the FISA renewed. They don't like it, and they shouldn't like it. I don't like it. It's horrible. It's a terrible, terrible law. It's been abused. It's been misused. It's a horrible thing. But it wouldn't surprise me in the least to see these guys do something illicit to get that pushed forward. So keep your eyes open, folks, especially over the next couple of weeks. Let's see what's going to happen here, but just be aware. No, I have no prediction on this. I'm not saying it's going to happen. I'm saying just be skeptical. We need to be skeptical, because the deep state doesn't like this. They want their security state, their track and trace state going everywhere. They're pushing it forward. FISA is an important tool for them. So let's see what happens here, but that's kind of my take on it. Meanwhile, John Thune, he's pushing the FISA, and he just pushed the FISA through. In fact, this was an interesting, we got kind of a Republican civil war going on in this, right? So headline on Twitter or on X, Republicans demand warrants as FISA surveillance program lapses, right? So enough Republicans have defected and said, hell no on this unless there's a warrant requirement put in there, that they haven't been able to get this through. There's no short-term extension. There's nothing. And they left for recess. So there's no FISA right now. That's part of the reason that I think that if there's going to be a false flag, now's the time to keep our eyes open on it, right? Hey, if we'd only had FISA, we could have caught this, right? That's the kind of thing I would see. But Thune is dead set on this, because Thune is a deep state sellout piece of crap. He is one of the worst. He was handpicked by McConnell to be his predecessor, and he's following the McConnell sellout roadmap to the T. The rhino sellout, right? And this is the problem. We do have a couple of good, real good Republicans in the party, but they're never allowed a position of leadership. All the leadership is always, always, always rhino, 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 rhino. You can look at Mike Johnson. You can look at John Thune. You can look at McConnell before that. I mean, go back. Go back, look at the different Republican leaders. They're all sellouts. They're all weak-kneed. They're always pushing the party to go against its base. So Trump has said, I don't want FISA unless you're going to attach the SAVE Act. Now, we got SAVE Act up to 50 votes the other day, which means that if J.D. Vance came in and if we eliminated this filibuster nonsense, we could pass the SAVE Act. 80% of America wants the SAVE Act. Now, for anybody saying, hey, but SAVE Act will be track and trace. Yes, there's some of that, and I am aware of that. But we've got to take some steps to clean up these elections. This is a helpful law on that. I don't love it. I mean, I would rather see us go to paper ballots, hand counts, and some other things. I think there's plenty of law in the books, but it's not going to happen. So the SAVE Act is probably the best we can do on it. And by the way, the digital track and trace is already here. They're pushing it every day. They keep passing more legislation every day on the state and federal level. It's here. The SAVE Act isn't going to push that forward much further than it already is, right? So the SAVE Act is popular. I would like to see it get passed. It's not my favorite bill, but I would like to see it get passed because we got to get the election fraud handled. And the more that we can do to eliminate opportunities for election fraud, the better. The SAVE Act does help with that to an extent, right? We still need to deal with the machines and all these other things, but the SAVE Act, 80% support it. Now, Trump said, hey, if you're going to push this FISA crap through, stick the SAVE Act on it. Because politically, that makes it much more tenable, right? You ask Trump to sign this going into midterms when everybody's already mad. That's not going to go well, right? It's not going well at all. So now, Trump says, well, listen, if you attack the SAVE Act, it's going to at least make it a little bit more palatable going into midterms. But John Thune, being the rhino he is, well, he won't do it. So he just pushes the FISA thing again with no SAVE Act. Because Thune is a piece of garbage. Thune, by the way, is also the guy who's blocked every single recess appointment. Donald Trump has had fewer recess appointments than any president ever because John Thune is taking steps to purposely block recess appointments. Now, why it is that Trump hasn't gone to war with this guy, I don't know. It's mind-blowing to me because Trump has gone to war with people like Massey and Boebert for supporting the Epstein stuff, but he won't go to war with John Thune. I can't understand this. I can't wrap my head around it. It makes no sense. We need to get John Thune out of there. This guy should not be in charge. And we got to get some of this legislation passed and some of these recess appointments made. We need to get some things done in this country. We can't do anything. And again, guys, I keep coming back. We're going to attack Tom Massey because he pushed the Epstein stuff, but we're not going to attack John Thune, who has destroyed everything, who's undermined Donald Trump on more ways than any way. In fact, we support Lindsey Graham, the worst person in the Senate, the only guy that might be worse than John Thune. Make it make sense, folks. Make it make sense. So that's all happening. Thune's getting all sorts of backlash right now. I mean, people are pissed. Bipartisan. Nobody is happy about this. Nobody. We don't need the filibuster on this. The Democrats would remove the filibuster in a heartbeat. And they're gonna. If they take the Senate and the House, they'll remove the filibuster. They'll pass whatever they want. They're going to impeach Trump. They're going to do whatever they want to do. So, I mean, I don't know, guys. If anybody can make the political situation in Washington make sense to me, I would love it. And I want to tell you guys, this is the reason I get so frustrated because it doesn't make sense. Literally, the only explanation is corruption. The only explanation for any of this is corruption. There's no logical reason on this planet that John Thune is still being supported as a Senate leader when he's undermined everything that everything in the MAGA agenda, everything. He's done more to stop it than the Democrats. But yet we won't remove him, and we go after people who are in favor of revealing the Epstein list and going after child rapists. The only way this makes sense is if you recognize that there's corruption. It's the only way, because it's not politically sensible. 80% want the SAVE Act. 90%, according to internal polls that Donald Trump had, distrust big pharma. We're doing nothing about that. 90% of Americans, bipartisan. Yet the people in Washington won't take action against big pharma in any way, shape, or form. Why? It's the corruption, folks. We are being governed by the most corrupt Congress and the most corrupt deep state people in history. I don't think there's ever been a time that this country's been more corrupt. And yet everybody's still asleep. And half the Republicans are out there saying, oh, we're entering a golden age. How the hell do you call this a golden age? Even if you're a Trump cultist, even if you think Trump is Jesus Christ himself, how can you call it a golden age? He can't get recess appointments. He can't get his people through. Even if you're the most diehard Trumpster on the planet, how can you think that this is okay or that this is good? We've passed nothing. We've passed the pork-filled big, beautiful bill, and that's it. I mean, outside of that, we passed a bunch of track and trace, a bunch of corrupt things that nobody likes, but we've done nothing good. We brought Donald Trump in expecting reform. All we're getting is swamp everywhere. There's no reform. And this starts back what I said a couple months in. I said, hey, there's not been any prosecutions. What's this DOJ doing? And there weren't. And I know as an attorney that, a few months in, that was all they needed. People's heads should have started rolling. But there was no accountability. And because Trump, Trump has never, to this point, ever had a good AG. Not once. It's the one thing, if there's one thing he's done worse than anything else, it's AGs. His AGs have universally been horrific, and they continue to be. We're getting almost nothing done. Sure, they're arresting low-level criminals, but the criminals that are running the show in Washington, the deep state, not one of them are being touched. Not one. There's been no accountability anywhere. It's because our system is broken and corrupt. The DOJ is from top to bottom corrupt. The intel community, the intelligence community, the FBI, all these people are working together. And there's some great people in the intel community, and there's some great people in the FBI. But largely, these entities are corrupt as hell, and they are undermining the mega will of the people. They're undermining Maha, they're undermining mega, and they will not do a damn good thing. You know how I feel about it. All right, few other things. Ohio. The heart of it all, my home state. Ohio probably reflects Washington, D.C. better than any other state in the union. It is a corrupt, rhino-led disaster with a lot of, we got some great reps and great senators in Ohio. We really do on the state level. We have some great people. I love Jennifer Gross. I love a few of these people, just wonderful people. But Ohio, you can't get anything done. The Republican leadership will not do anything, will not allow the important bills to go forward. They just block it. Well, Ohio, we had made a deal with SimCorp. This is a Chinese company, and we gave them $22.7 million in tax credits in 2022. And they were promising a $916 million plant and 1,200 jobs. Right now, as of this date, several years later, they have produced a grand total of 0 jobs. 0. So we gave them a $22 million tax break for nothing. Now, they've done a good job of bringing in Chinese spies and foreign workers, is my understanding. But in terms of jobs, those 1,200 jobs, well, none. No verified jobs created. So that's Ohio, right? But in the meantime, we see that Ohio, FBI just raided a voter group, a voter fraud group, this leftist voter fraud group in Ohio. The Ohio Organizing Collaborative's headquarters was raided in Cleveland and Columbus. Cleveland and Columbus are cesspools, by the way, folks. The corruption in Cleveland and Columbus are just, they're kind of next level. But the FBI raided the Ohio Organizing Collaboratives groups, and they're going after this for some sort of a voter fraud scheme. So you see Ohio, we have a red supermajority. right? We are a wildly red state. But much like many other wildly red states, we can't seem to get anything done. We have corruption like this. We have voter fraud. We have these favors done to these foreign corporations. We have all this nonsense happening. It's like the data centers. Ohio loves data centers. Not the people hate them, but Ohio is a state. I mean, they want the data centers. We've got the flock cameras. We're embracing the track and trace, everything all over the place. And why? Why? I mean, a red state, why is this a problem? Well, that's the game, right? The leftists, the globalists, the elitists, and the Democrats have figured out they get far more done by corrupting Republicans than they could ever do by just supporting Democrats. They already own the Democrats. So if they could get a handful of Republicans, especially in leadership positions, that are willing to sell out, well, guess what happens? The leftist agenda keeps passing. You only need a handful of Republican defectors to allow Democrat legislation to pass. This is happening in Texas as well. It was happening in Oklahoma. They're starting to cleaning it up in Oklahoma a little bit. But this is happening all over the country, and it's happening in red states. And it's very easy on the state level because, these globalists, they throw $10,000, $20,000 at a state race, and these state guys think they've won a prize. Right? Buying a federal elected official costs a lot more money. So, they do that too. But the states are really where they're getting the action. So they buy they find Republicans that they can buy off, or Democrats that they can run as Republicans in red states. They fund them in the primaries, they get them in, and then we get nothing done. This is why our country is going in the wrong direction. It's not complicated. It's a very, very clear thing what's going on, but none of us are catching on. At the end of the day, it comes to we the people. We either stand up and retake our Republican Party and make our Republican Party great again. Make them actually accountable to what MAGA stood for. Not where MAGA is. I know everybody tells MAGA's dead, MAGA's dead. It's not dead. The movement, the people, what we believe in, the desire to make America great again is alive and well. That movement is not dead. What's dead is action. There's no action. There's nothing being done with that movement. And it's not being done because we have too many Republicans that are bought and paid for, that are corrupt, and that are no better than the Democrats. All right, guys, we got a whole lot more to talk about, but we're out of time. We'll be here. I think we'll be here tomorrow, but we have we're going to Reawaken this week. So we'll be down at the Reawaken tour this weekend. I'll be speaking. I think I'm speaking on Saturday. Make sure you check it out. Reawaken is a wonderful time, wonderful people. And we really now more than ever really need to reawaken America and reignite the movement. We need to reignite the movement and demand change, right? It's up to we the people to change it. We've seen for the last 2 years, not much has happened. We either change it ourselves or it doesn't change. Thank you for your support. GiveSendGo.com/RenzLaw, TomRenz.com. Thank you for all you guys do. God bless you. We'll be back very soon.